Aleph Bet Vet Gimel Dalet Hey Vav Zayin Chet Tet Yud Kaf Chaf Lamed Mem Nun Samech Ayin Pei Fet Tzadi Kuf Reish Shin Sin Taf. Now I think I've said enough.
Welcome to another program in our series From the Aleph Bet, a series of programs for anyone of any age who wishes to learn how to read and understand Hebrew, especially the Hebrew that's used in the experience of Judaism here in the United States. I'm Mark Golub. Once again, how wonderful it is to be with you. Last time, we taught you 3 Hebrew letters. They are the letter Vet, which of course is really a bet without a dagesh. The bet, vet are one of the 3 Hebrew letters which do change sounds depending on whether there is or is not a dagesh inside the letter. So the bet without a dagesh is a vet. It's really a bet that makes a V sound. We call it a vet. It's the same letter as the bet and the vet. Then we also taught you the only Hebrew letter that is open at the top, the tet, the only letter open at the top. The tet makes the same sound as the Hebrew letter tuf. Both the tuf and the tet make the T sound in Hebrew. And then we taught you the letter Zayin that has a little bit of, I see a Z at the top of the Zayin, a sort of a sideways Z. But this is the Z in Hebrew, and it is the Hebrew letter Zayin. And those are the 3 letters we taught you last time. And we also taught you a couple of Hebrew words. This word is tov, good, and it means good. Mitsuya, very nice. We also taught you that if you add this word to tov, it enhances the strength of the word. Can you read these 2 words together? Tov me'od, mitsuyan. And by strengthening the tov, in English we use the adverb very. So tov me'od means very good. Mitsuyan. We also taught you this Hebrew word, mazal. Very nice. Mazal literally means a constellation, and it has come to mean luck. But when you add the word tov to it, as in the phrase mazal tov, in Yiddish mazel tov, but mazal tov means good luck, but it's used as an idiom for congratulations. Right, very, very nice. Mazal tov. That's some of what we taught you last time. I want to go on to teach you new Hebrew letters now. We're going to begin by looking at the only Hebrew letter with a cap on it. This is the only Hebrew letter with a cap. Take a look at this letter. This is the only Hebrew letter with a cap on it, and it makes the sound of the English letter K, mitsuyan. This letter is called a kuf. I will remind you that we already learned the Hebrew letter kaf, which makes the same sound as the kuf. But here you see a kaf next to a kuf. And the kaf and the kuf both make the sound of the English letter K. But the kuf is the only Hebrew letter that has a cap on it. And you'll also notice that the kuf is the only letter that goes below the line, which is not a final letter. So far we've taught you that Hebrew letters that go below the line tend to be final letters, but this letter, the kuf, is the only Hebrew letter that goes below the line, and it's written this way whether it comes at the beginning of a word, in the middle of a word, or at the end of the word. It is the Hebrew letter kuf. And sometimes young people will ask me, why does Hebrew need 2 letters that make the same sound, the kaf and the kuf, or the tuf and the tet? And the answer is that's how languages work. And we know that from our own language of English. The English letter S makes the same sound as the C makes sometimes, the S sound. We know that there's the letter F in English. We also know that a PH in English somehow also makes an F sound. And languages tend to evolve. In early Hebrew, there was a difference between the way the kaf was pronounced and the kuf was pronounced. But over time, languages always tend to get easier and easier. And in Hebrew now, the kaf and the kuf both make the sound of the English letter K. So take a look now at a few Hebrew syllables. And remember, a syllable is made up of a letter and a vowel. There's always one vowel for every Hebrew syllable. So take a look at this Hebrew syllable and see if you can read it. How would you read this syllable, which is the new letter, the kuf, with a vowel, the kamatz? Ka is correct. How about this syllable? The kuf with the cholam. Ko is correct, or ko is correct, mitsuyan. And if you take the vertical line out of the cholam, leaving simply the dot, the vowel remains the same, and therefore this syllable would be pronounced ko as well, or ko, mitsuyan. How about this syllable? The kuf with the segol. Ke is correct, mitsuyan. And what if we add a yud to the vowel the segol? Very good, it stays ke. When you add a yud to all of the dotted vowels, the sounds basically remain the same. Ke is correct. So now let me show you a word with the new letter, the kuf, in it. And actually, I want to show you a 3-letter Hebrew root. Alex, let's put up the kuf, daled, and shin. Whenever you see these 3 letters in this order as root letters of a word, kuf, daled, shin, it has something to do with holiness. Holiness. Kuf, daled, shin has something to do with holiness. Anytime you see it. So how about this word here? A 2-vowel and therefore a 2-syllable word. How would you read the first syllable? Ka is correct. And the second syllable? Dosh is correct. Daled and the cholam and the shin. Dosh. Put the word together and you get kadosh, mitsuyan. And the word kadosh in Hebrew means holy. Holy. By the way, if we go back to the 3-letter root, kuf, daled, shin, not only does this word mean holy, it really has the sense of separating. When you kadosh something in Hebrew, you separate it from everything else, thereby making it special or holy, not ordinary. It's separate, it's special. And so the root kuf, daled, shin not only means holy, but it really comes from the idea of to separate it from everything else. And so when you take something and make it kadosh, it is separate from all of the ordinary things of life. So for example, the Shabbat is kadosh, holy. It's separated from all the other days of the week. Kadosh. The Shabbat is holy. Now take a look at this Hebrew word, which has the same Hebrew root, kuf, daled, shin, but we've changed the vowels. Again, 2 vowels, 2 syllables. How would you read the first Hebrew syllable of this word? If you said ki, you are correct. The kuf with the hirik. Ki is correct. And the second syllable? Dush is correct. Mitsuyan, the daled and the shuruk and the shin. Mitsuyan, dush. Put the word together and you get the Hebrew word kiddush. Mitsuyan, kiddush. And what does the word kiddush mean? By the way, the word kiddush is one of the most important Hebrew words in the experience of Judaism. And every Shabbat there is a Shabbat kiddush. Once a week, on Shabbat, there's a special kiddush for the Shabbat. What does the word kiddush mean? Actually, the word kiddush is one of the most misunderstood words in the Jewish tradition. Most people think that a kiddush is a blessing over wine. Actually, a kiddush is said with wine because wine is a form of celebration. So whenever one recites a kiddush, one holds typically a glass of wine. But the kiddush is not over the wine. The kiddush is said with wine. A kiddush makes something holy. Again, remember the root of the word is kuf daled shin, having to do with holy. A kiddush is a blessing that makes something holy. When one has a new home, one can pronounce a kiddush over the home with a cup of wine. But the kiddush is not a blessing over the wine. A kiddush of a home is a blessing over the home. When one has a new child, one can pronounce a kiddush over the birth of this child. It's said holding a cup of wine, wine again being a symbol of joy and celebration, but the kiddush is a blessing over, in this case, the child. And the most well-known kiddush of all is the kiddush that is recited every Friday night to issue in the Shabbat. The Shabbat kiddush is not a blessing over wine, it's a blessing over the Shabbat. In fact, it is the Shabbat kiddush which begins the Shabbat. Many people think that when one lights the Friday night candles, the Shabbat begins. But actually, when one lights the Shabbat candles, one is anticipating the beginning of the Shabbat. But when one lifts a cup of wine and recites the kiddush over the Shabbat, that, the Jewish tradition tells us, is when the Shabbat really begins. And it's interesting, in the Jewish tradition, things don't tend to happen by accident. The Shabbat does not begin simply because the earth rotates 7 times on its axis. The Shabbat only begins, the Jewish tradition tells us, if in a home 2 candles are lit and someone lifts a kiddush cup and recites the kiddush over the Shabbat. If no one recites the kiddush in a Jewish home, then in that home there's been no Shabbat. There might be Friday night, but not Shabbat. Shabbat begins when the family comes together and someone lifts a cup of wine to celebrate the beginning of the Shabbat and recites the Shabbat kiddush. And if you know the kiddush, you know that it ends with the words Mikadesh HaShabbat. The 2 words you see on the screen right now, Mikadesh HaShabbat, the one who makes the Shabbat holy, the Sabbath holy. Kiddush, one of the most important words in the Jewish tradition. Let's take a look at another Hebrew letter. This Hebrew letter looks very similar to the first Hebrew letter we taught you. It looks very much like the letter Shin. But notice that the letter Shin has a dot over the right stem, or what I call sail, and this letter has a dot over the left stem, or the left sail. And if you put the dot over the left sail, or the left stem, this letter becomes the letter Sin, an S sound, just like the sound made by the Hebrew letter Samech. The Samech and the Sin make the same sound. Once again, if the dot is on the right side, it is a Shin. If the dot is on the left side, it is a Sin. Incidentally, this is also sort of an anomaly in the Hebrew alphabet. When the Hebrew alphabet is written, normally when you write the Hebrew alphabet, no dot is written with this letter, and it represents both the Shin and the Sin. And depending on what the word is, you have to know how the word is spelled to know whether the Shin is there or the Sin is there. But we're teaching you now that if the dot appears over the left-hand stem or the left-hand sail, It is the Hebrew letter sin, and it's pronounced S, the same way you would pronounce the Samech. So take a look at these syllables and see if you can read these one vowel syllables. How would you read this syllable? Sa is correct with the patach. How about this syllable? So is correct, mitsuyan. And notice the dot over the sin is next to the cholam. How about this syllable? Si is correct, mitsuyan. And if we add a yud, it's still si. And how about this syllable? Say is correct. If you add a yud, it's still say. And finally, se, mitsuyan with the segol, add a yud, it is se again, mitsuyan. So now take a look at what may be the most important Hebrew word that contains this new letter, the sin. Take a look at this word. How many vowels are in this word? If you said 3, you are correct. The first is the hirik under the yud. The second is the kamatz under the resh. And the third is the tsere under the aleph, mitsuyan. What about the shva under the sin? Is the shva under the sin a vowel? Alex?
No.
What's the rule?
A shva is never counted as a vowel.
A shva is never counted as a vowel. And this is a silent shva. Notice it does not come under the first letter of a word, which is the only pronounced shva we've taught you so far. And the silent shva tells you to add the letter above it, in this case the sin, to the letter and vowel in front of it. It basically extends the first syllable by one letter, and the entire first syllable would be read as yis, mitsuyan, yis. The second syllable, ra, mitsuyan. And the third syllable, el, mitsuyan. Put the 3-syllable word together and you get Yisrael, mitsuyan, Yisrael, mitsuyan. And what does the word Yisrael mean? And interestingly enough, Yisrael has 2 meanings. On the one hand, Yisrael is the English word Israel, and it refers to the country. And here you see a map of the state of Israel. Yisrael is the country Israel. But Yisrael also refers to the Jewish people. The Jewish people are also called Yisrael. And therefore, when you hear the word Yisrael, you have to distinguish between its 2 meanings. Is it referring to a place, a country, a state? Or is it referring to a nation, a people, a community? The people, Israel. In each case, you have the word Yisrael. And that's why we're putting 2 symbols up on the screen for you. The map of the state of Israel and Jews. All kinds of Jews make up the people, Israel. And I want to show you 2 phrases which you can now read with the word Yisrael in them. Take a look at this 2-word Hebrew phrase. Notice the first word begins with a bet that has a shva under it. And when a shva comes at the beginning of a word, it is pronounced I, as in the English word fish. Is it a vowel, Alex?
No.
Even if it's pronounced?
Even if it's pronounced, no.
That is correct. Even when a shva is pronounced, it is not counted as a vowel, and therefore the first word has only 1 Hebrew vowel, the tsere under the nun, and this is a 1-syllable word. Can you read it? B'nai is correct, mitsuyan, b'nai. And it precedes the word you now know. Put the 2 words together. B'nai Yisrael. And the word b'nai means children of. children of. The tsere with the yud at the end of the word is like adding the English word of. And therefore, Bnei Yisrael is the children of Israel. And Bnei Yisrael is what the Jewish people are called in the Torah. We are called as a people Bnei Yisrael, because Yisrael is also the name of a person in the Torah. Do you know who was named Yisrael in the Torah? If you said the patriarch Jacob, you are correct. There's the wonderful story in the Torah where Jacob wrestles with a man, an angel, sort of in a dream, and he wins. And as the dawn breaks, the man angel says to Jacob, "Let me go." According to the Midrash, Jewish legends, this angel is the angel Michael, and every morning one of the angels gets to lead in heaven the phrase Kadosh, Kadosh, Kadosh. You already know what Kadosh means. It means holy. And so the Midrash says that every morning a different angel gets to lead the heavenly chorus as they praise God with the words Kadosh, Kadosh, Kadosh. And this time it's Michael's turn. And Michael says to Jacob, "Let me go. The dawn is breaking. I must get back to heaven to be able to lead the chorus of Kadosh, Kadosh, Kadosh." And Jacob says to the angel, "I will not let you go unless you bless me." And then the angel blesses Jacob by giving Jacob a new name. And the new name Jacob receives from this angel is the name Yisrael, which means one who has striven with man and God and prevailed. And that becomes the meaning of the Jewish word, the Hebrew word Yisrael, to somehow struggle with life and to prevail. And that becomes the task, the goal of every human being on earth, to somehow deal with the problems of life, the problems of other people, and to somehow prevail by making good in this world. That's the task of every human being, to be a Yisrael. And so Jacob's name is changed from Jacob to Yisrael. By the way, there's a very interesting wrinkle to the Torah. After Jacob's name is changed from Jacob to Yisrael, when this angel blesses Jacob with the new name, the rabbis notice what name is then used for Jacob in the rest of the Torah. What becomes Jacob's name from then on in the Torah? And interestingly enough, it is sometimes Jacob and sometimes Yisrael. Jacob is Yaakov, Israel is Yisrael. And the rabbis notice that from then on, sometimes Jacob is called Yaakov, Jacob, and sometimes Jacob is called Yisrael, Israel. And the rabbis make the point that one is always striving to become Yisrael, and that very often one doesn't quite make it. And that just as Jacob, even Jacob, from then on in the Torah, always vacillated. At times he was Jacob, and at times he was Israel. So should we try, as best as we can, to be in our lives Yisrael as much as is humanly possible. And then Yisrael has children, 12 sons and a daughter, Dinah. In the Midrash, by the way, he has even more children. But in the Torah, he has 12 sons and one daughter. The last son is Benjamin, and the other son from the same mother is Joseph, who will one day save the children of Israel in the land of Egypt. But all of Jacob's children become known as the children of Israel, Bnei Yisrael. And all of their descendants become Bnei Yisrael through those 12 sons. And therefore the Jewish people in the Torah are called Bnei Yisrael. We are the children of Israel. When we get to rabbinic literature after the Torah, a different word is used, and you can read that too. We're going to put that up on the screen for you. Can you read these two Hebrew words? The first word is a simple one vowel and therefore one syllable word. The word is Am, Mitsuyan. And the word Am means nation. And therefore these two words together are Am Yisrael, the nation of Israel. And so you see that in the Torah, the Jewish people are called Bnei Yisrael, and in rabbinic literature we are called Am Yisrael. And that tells us what, according to the Jewish tradition, the Jewish people are. The Jewish people are a family, a nation, a people. And here is one more Hebrew phrase, very important. Many of you already know it. Take a look at these two Hebrew words. We've taught you both of them. Try reading these two Hebrew words, and if you said Shema Yisrael, you are exactly correct. And Shema means to hear or listen, and also has the sense of understanding. And Shema Yisrael as a phrase means listen, Israel, understand, Israel, and hopefully you know the rest of the phrase, the Lord our God, the Lord is one. But Shema Yisrael are two of the most important calling words in the Jewish tradition. Shema Yisrael, and now you can both read them and understand them. So now you have two new Hebrew letters, the Kuf and the Sin, and the words Kadosh from the Hebrew root Kuf Daled Shin, which always has something to do with holiness, separating something from the ordinary and making it special. And the word Kiddush, which is a blessing to make something holy. And the most well-known Kiddush, of course, is the Kiddush we recite on Friday night to welcome the Shabbat and make the Sabbath day holy. And it's said with a cup of wine. It is not said over a cup of wine. And you've learned the Hebrew letter Sin. And the most important word with that letter is the word Yisrael, Jacob's name, the name of the state of the Jewish people, and the word that represents what the Jewish people are, the family of Israel, Yisrael. I hope you enjoyed that lesson of From the Aleph Bet. And remember, you can download lesson sheets and worksheets for every lesson of this series free of charge. Just visit the JBS website homepage at jbstv.org and click on the program icon for From the Aleph Bet. And then click on the very first option, From the Aleph Bet Hebrew Study Sheets. And for anyone who can send JBS a tax-deductible donation of $180 or more, we'll be pleased to send you the entire 20-program Series 1 of From the Aleph Bet on DVD, complete with a CD of lesson sheets and worksheets. JBS, expanding Jewish understanding, celebrating all things Jewish. Be well, my friends.
Aleph Bet Fret Gimel Dalet Hey Vav Zayin Chet Tet Yud Kaf Chaf Lamed Mem Nun Samech Ayin Pei Fet Tzadik Kuf Reish Shin Sin Taf. Now I think I've said enough.